Welcome back to On the Spot. Resuming with your questions. Next one comes to us from Randy Sermon. He says, OTS, what are you doing next? Depending on when you're watching this review, Randy, and depending on when, of course, I get this video uploaded, a couple of things I've got planned next. The NECA Series 3 Mogwais are coming. I still got the Friday 13th Jasons from Part 4. They're going to go online. The Terminator figures, those are also lined up as well. Aside from that, this channel, actually, after I do On the Spots, Valentine's spots are coming. I think I've got some St. Patrick's Day things planned. So there's definitely a lot. There's definitely a lot going on between this channel that you're watching here, the regular main review spot channel, and then of course Spot's Thought. I've got a couple of things lined up for that I've got planned, so definitely a lot on the horizon. The horizon, as you out there, the horizon. Next question comes to us from Oberst13100 OTS. Will you ever try reviewing movies, television shows, movie, games, etc. on a regular basis? You guys will have to let me know what you feel about that, because with YouTube being as strict as they are for copyright footage is probably going to be a no-no. I know you can say, well, there's some people out there that do movie reviews all the time and whatnot. There's obviously there's always that risk that when you do copyright material, sometimes things don't get noticed right away, or sometimes you float under radar. Some other channels I've seen get shut down or flagged because they're using copyright material. So Spot tries to be a little meticulous when it comes to what he's actually putting on the tube, as it were. Also, some people have said too, like, again, Spot, why don't you use copywritten music? I watch other people's reviews, Spot, and they use Thundercats music, and they use all this kind of stuff for their openers. Why don't you do that? And again, like, it just boils down to I don't own that property, and you can't simply keep saying, well, it's Fair Use Act, I have the right to use this, I have the right to use this. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't own it, So I don't do it because I don't want to run the risk of, I certainly don't want this channel getting flagged or anything like that. So if you guys don't, I can show the movie on this backdrop and talk about it, but I don't know how interesting that is. So if you guys are interested in seeing that format, by all means let me know down below. But it is a little gray when it comes to video games, television shows, and movies. It's a little gray. Next question comes to us from Serpens. He says, OTS, do you like guns? I like guns. I don't own guns. I think guns are neat looking. I don't condone. I'm not going to be preaching, oh, you can't use guns, you can't use guns. I'm not a big believer that one should own guns, but movie guns and stuff like that I always think are cool, and Mr. Freeze's gun I think is neat. And then there's that gun from Runaway with Tom Selleck. Gene Simmons fires it, and it goes around corners and everything else. How does that work? But that's a neat gun. And also, I really like the Terminator guns, the ones the endoskeletons use. I think those are kind of cool too. Next question comes to us from Sentinel951 OTS. Do you have any plans on getting the DC Collectibles new 52 Darkseid? He is amazing. I have seen him, and I probably would pick him up. It's just something I just haven't gotten around to. Maybe at the time that I saw him, I just didn't have the money to fork over for Darkseid just yet. But if I see him and, Spot has enough of this, I would consider picking him up, absolutely. Next question comes to us from QWE6348 OTS. What DC hero designs do you like better, the New 52 or Injustice Gods Among Us game? They're different and similar in a way. I think if given the choice between the two, I probably would say the New 52 because they're still a little more rooted in comic. Whereas Injustice Gods, again, we have to give him this stupid armor. Batman looks ridiculous. Superman, I don't know what's going on with Superman's outfit. I'm hoping, there's a small bit of hope in me that we're going to get some DLC for that game, and it's going to be of the classic attire. I really want to have Superman and Batman in original outfits. I don't know. It's just New 52 I really don't like, but in comparison, I would say New 52 I like a little bit more than Injustice Gods, because Injustice Gods, kind of going back to what I was saying before about the Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, really liked the first game, but then the second game was just so rooted in reality. I kind of just wanted a comic book feel of the game, and it just, I don't know. That's just my prerogative. Not really a fan. Next question comes to us from the Masked Man. The man is masked. OTS, what is your real name, full name? Well, I won't give you my full name, but my real name is Aaron. And my dad was an Elvis fan, so yeah, that's where that name came from. That's Elvis's middle name, by the way. Next question comes to us from Liam Dolan. OTS, what would be your all-time favorite DVD comic figure for 2013? I don't know if he means the bonus figures that you would get with when you buy a DVD. Like if you buy a DVD, you would get a figure along with it. I haven't really picked up many DVD figures for 2013, but for 2012 or 2011, one figure I really liked was the Wonder Woman figure that came with the DC, well, the Warner Brothers DC, I was going to say superheroes, but the DC Wonder Woman movie. And I think had the girl that played Felicity. I think she was the voice of Wonder Woman. That was a great movie, by the way. That was a really good Wonder Woman movie. But the figure that came with it was really nice. And it's a shame that it wasn't articulated. It might have had head articulation, but that would have been a sweet figure if it was articulated. Next question comes to us from Batman Fan 281 OTS. Give us your top 10 movies. Stay tuned for that, because not necessarily on this channel, or it might be on this channel, it might be on Spot's Thought. I'm not sure which one I'm going to do yet, but I am going to do a top 10 favorite movies of all time, at least of my top 10. So stay tuned for that. I won't do it here, but definitely stay tuned for that. Next question comes to us from Pyrus Masquerade. OTS, what's your favorite comic of all time? I probably would say my favorite comic of all time is probably... I probably would say Death in the Family. I don't know if I would say, you probably couldn't say, well, that's not necessarily a comic, it's a series, mini-series, but I would probably say Death in the Family was probably one of my favorites. My second favorite is probably Death of Superman. Just because Death of Superman really personified when I was really into the comic scene. And I remember my dad, bless that man, my dad went to the comic book store every week, or was it every month? I think he went every week to see what current titles were coming out. And that man got me all of the Funeral for a Friend and all of the Batman and all of Superman. And I still remember Christmas Day opening it up and getting Batman number 75, the black bag with the blood. And I remember getting two. He got me two so I could open one and I had the other one sealed. And I remember opening it on Christmas morning and I put the poster up and I had Spot had the armband on. Totally rocked that stuff. So that's probably my favorite comic of all time is Death in the Family. My second is probably Death of Superman. If you were to say Spot only pick one, I would either say then, surprisingly enough, I would probably say Batman 497, which I think was the breaking of the bat, and I would also say Superman number 75 are to my two favorite comics of all time. Trying to think if anything else really stands out to me. I can't think of anything else really jumping out. Most of my comics, of course, are packed away. I can't think of anything else. Next question comes to us from the Parody Pair 1. OTS, are you going to do more DVD spots? Again, I could do DVD spots if you guys certainly don't mind the fact that it's just going to be me holding the case. Again, it gets a little gray when it comes to footage. But if you guys want to see it, I definitely can do a lot more of them. Does that sound good? You guys, let me know. Let me know down below. Next question comes to us from B-Boy 600 OTS. If you get $100, what will you do with it? I don't know if B-Boy is actually offering $100. if he is, that's very generous of him. If I had $100, what would I do with it? I would like to go for a nice meal, a nice steak dinner. That would be really nice. Now, if you're thinking on a collecting end of it, what would I do with $100? If we can do the selfish, what would I do with $100? I would buy something for myself kind of answer. I would probably put that towards Masterpiece Soundwave. I really want to get Masterpiece Soundwave. Really want to get that. If I get it, I'll review it. Masterpiece Soundwave all the way. Next question comes to us from Mr. Decepticon Leader OTS. If you could only collect one toy company's toys, which company would you pick and why? Also, sorry if this has been asked before, but what are your thoughts on the prices of figures increasing, such as DC Collectibles? Oh, Mr. Decepticon Leader, speaking of which, I actually did do that on Spot's Thought. My questions on the increased, well, actually my answer on the increased prices such as DC Collectibles. So if you want to check it out, and anyone else wants to check it out, check out Spot's Thought. It is actually there. Going back to his first question, though, he says, if you could collect any toy company's figures, I would definitely say NECA. NECA, second to that, I would say Mattel. But Mattel, I love the DC Universe figures, but again, they're very notorious for reusing molds. Love the Masters of the Universe classics, but again, reusing molds. But I probably would say NECA. If I could collect one line, I'd say NECA. Next question comes to us from Passagiula OTS. There seems to be an entire subspecies of Spot fans, the raving wrestling fans. Yeah, you've noticed that too? How do you feel about that, and what is your message to these people? My message is don't be afraid, wrestling fans. More wrestling reviews are definitely on the way. I don't blame them because, I mean, I'm such a diehard wrestling fan myself. I don't watch as much of the property as which I used to. I used to really watch wrestling during like the Attitude Era, and certainly in the 80s I used to love watching wrestling. I think it's fine. I mean, I think it's all right that there's a subcategory, a subspecies of fans out there that love the wrestling reviews. I certainly will do my best to do more wrestling reviews, but as I mentioned before, I don't necessarily want to collect like a Jack Swagger, you know, or I don't want to collect a line where it's like, oh great, I've got another John Cena, or oh great, I really want to get that Zack Ryder figure. I really don't want to get Zack Ryder figures. But like some of the Legend class figures, like the and like some of the Elite series, like Mankind and stuff like that. I mean, I'm all for picking those up. I mean, I really love, and like, you know, once in a while, if I see a John Cena figure out there that's Elite, and he has the pretty good accessories, a pretty good face sculpt, yeah, sure, I'll pick him up. Same thing with like a Triple H. Brock Lesnar, absolutely. I mean, I'm still holding out that we're going to get a classic attire, and I say classic, but it was only like 2000, but a classic attire, Brock Lesnar, even maybe before he's got the tattoo on his chest of the knife in his black classic attire trunks. Yeah, I totally would pick that up in a heartbeat. But regular wrestling figures, it's gray because, you know, you can only, as I said, you can only collect so many CM Punks, so many John Cenas. So hopefully that answered your question. There's also a question here from Jay Norris. He says, OTS, you did mention this on another video, but I wanted to ask you what are your feelings on Knight Rider, and what are your thoughts on the 2008 reboot? If you have a lot to say, can you do a Spot's Thought on it? Absolutely. Actually, Knight Rider, a Spot's Thought on the Knight Rider reboot series. I'm definitely going to do that because I don't want to talk about it here because there's going to be a lot that I'm going to talk about, but I'm definitely going to do a video for that. So the last question comes to, it's Lego Zombies again. Spot, what is your PS3 name? I don't actually want to put my PS3 name on here just because I know I'm going to get a lot of invites. This also came to us from Mr. Osanito. He says, what is your PS3 name or Xbox name? I don't have an Xbox. Likely won't be picking up an Xbox, but as for my PS3 name, probably won't give it away just because I know I'm going to get so many invites. And it's not that I don't want to take invites from you guys, but for how often I play these games, I can't really see myself being on there long enough to do a lot of online playing. So hopefully that answers your questions. I'm going to actually wrap this up here, guys. Still got more to come, certainly for On the Spot, so stay tuned for that, guys. Definitely a lot more on the way. Stay tuned. More is on the way.